Hello there, Mr. Sutton here, bringing you the AB Calculus 312 lesson on derivatives of inverse trigonometric functions. In this one, we will be finding derivatives of inverse trig or arc functions. Let's take a look at some of the derivative shortcuts for inverse trig derivatives. So the arc trig functions have these derivatives. If you're doing arc sine or sine inverse, that's going to be 1 over the square root of 1 minus whatever's inside here squared. And arc cosine is actually, if you look at this closely, exactly the same, except that it's a negative instead of a positive. Arc tan, that's going to be 1 over x squared plus 1. Arc cotan is the exact same as arc tan except negative. Arc secant is going to be 1 over absolute value of x times the square root of x squared minus 1. And then arc cosecant is negative version of that. Now these look kind of big and nasty, so you might be a little bit scared about memorizing all of these for the AP test. And the good news is, although all of them are fair game, in my experience I've seen arc sine, arc cosine, and arc tan the most. So if you at least know those three, that's most of what you're going to encounter, at least based on past experience. We're going to do a few examples with these now. So for this one, we're going to have 1 over the square root of 1 minus quantity 2x squared. So that's just applying the normal rule. Don't forget, though, we have an inner function of 2x. The derivative of that's going to be 2. So don't forget to use the chain rule on these. The first step here is kind of big and intimidating with this formula. A lot of people forget that tail. Try this next one out on your own. All right, let's see what you came up with. Now, normally, derivative of arctan is 1 over x squared plus 1. So this is going to be 1 over the square root of x, quantity squared, plus 1. And yeah, you could go ahead and just turn that into x if you wanted to. Don't forget you have a tail, though. Derivative of square root of x, that's going to be 1/2 x to the negative 1/2 power. Here's one involving some trig functions. So we have an outer function here of sine. Derivative of that is going to be cosine of arc cos. And don't forget now the chain rule. Derivative of arc cosine, that's negative 1 over square root of 1 minus x squared. And if we truly wanted to simplify this as much as we could, cosine of arc cosine, since those are inverses, that's going to cancel out, and that would just leave you with x over here. Here's the last example. Pause the video and try this one on your own. All right, let's see what you came up with. Now you're thinking when you see this, okay, we have outer function of arc secant, inner function of secant, innermost function of x cubed. This is a triple chain rule. However, maybe you'll remember what we said at the tail end of the last example. When you have an arc function of the original trig function or vice versa, since those are inverses, those do cancel out. So this is really just going to be x cubed in disguise. So now you just need the derivative of that, which is 3x squared. Now, if you had actually done the triple chain rule and simplified it fully, you'd get the same answer, but this, I think you'll agree, is a lot faster. So that'll be it for this lesson on derivatives of inverse trig functions. And again, I think the hardest part of this is memorizing those formulas. Keep in mind, if you look back at that list, sine, tangent, and secant, if you can memorize those formulas, the co-versions of those are just negative. So until next time, this is Mr. Sutton signing off.